What is going on, guys, and welcome back to another video. A video that I thought now is a good time to make, because earlier this month we heard that a Spider-Man PS4 sequel that will of course be coming to PlayStation 5. If it will be coming to PlayStation 4, I don't know actually, more than likely backwards compatibility, all that stuff, but nonetheless it was said that it will be happening a lot sooner than we think. So before we continue into this video, it was sponsored by Instant Gaming, and if you're looking for a ton of awesome games for a very low price, they are your answer. And if you want to support the channel, click the link in the description below. Every single month we will be doing a giveaway. The month of December we have done a Christmas giveaway where one of you lucky guys did actually win Red Dead Redemption 2, but there's going to be a whole bunch of more cool things coming your way, so go ahead and check them out. The link is in the description below. And just to clarify how soon, if you didn't see that news or the video that I of course did make about it, they did rumor it to be around 2021. Now, actually looking in the perspective of where we are now and since the last game, it's a realistic date. It's more than likely going to happen since, you know, the first one was just massive, okay? That is definitely safe to say. Now, what's also safe to say is that a lot of superhero fans are just on the edge of their seats, not specifically for a new Spider-Man game exactly, but just another really good Marvel game that plays like Spider-Man PS4. And I know right now the first game that is probably coming to your head is, well, we have the Avengers game, but I mean right now I have absolutely zero idea what is going on with that game. We've heard absolutely zilch about it right now, so I guess we can't even really, you know, compare it to that because we've only seen so much of that. But yes, to kind of correct you, that would be the closest game if you were to compare it, but it just sucks because of course we haven't heard or seen a lot of what we did expect to see by now, if that makes sense. Now, interesting enough, I did actually see a comment on one of my videos from a while back that said that they really hope Insomniac Games go ahead and do another type of expansion pack for, of course, Spider-Man PS4 before they go ahead and release the sequel. Now, if you've been watching me for a while, you already know how many times I have said how cool it would be, but how unlikely it would be also to do this, because in my opinion, the finale for that game was definitely Insomniac Games just adding the Raimi suit, which was a very nice way to send that game off. However, with this rumor for the sequel being sooner than we think, I thought now would be an okay time to talk about a few things that we desperately need in this sequel to, in other words, make the first one look like rubbish, even though I'd imagine it will be pretty hard to do that, of course. Okay, so first things first, easily a must-have across the entire world of people's opinions. This is the most important thing. The feature is a more interactive open world. Now, don't get me wrong, okay, I absolutely loved the things you can do in this Spider-Man game, like for example just randomly high-fiving NPCs, walking around the way they also interact with you, and then of course taking selfies to kind of get into that modern day society type of thing. But there felt like something was missing. Think about a game franchise like Grand Theft Auto, okay, for instance. Completely different game, but it's got the open world aspect. Part of what makes it so successful is also all that replayability, I guess you could say, that comes with the open world aspect. You can interact with almost anything in the world and enter most of the buildings. Now, there was a Spider-Man game, I think it was Spider-Man 3, where you can actually go into most buildings, which was still a really cool feature. And again, the replayability, etc., it just makes you want to go ahead and jump back in that game. But you guys leave your thoughts on that in the comment section below. Now, an amazing job was done, of course, recreating Manhattan, but in the sequel, what I would really like to have is access to explore it deeper. Now, for instance, to give you a better perspective on this, maybe we can enter the Avengers Tower, you got the bar with no name, or the Santrum, of course, or even just the everyday places throughout the city. Now, in my opinion, it would give us a more, I guess, a more realistic feel to an open world, and just again more things to do after you actually beat the game. So that again, deeper exploration into the map is definitely a must-have. Now, next up, when it comes down to characters, Venom. I mean, just Venom, really. The post-credit scenes all but confirms that Green Goblin will actually be in the sequel, but Venom would be crazy. an example, right? A really good example is a movie starring the character that was hugely successful, and you just know how he'd look insane with the current or of course the next gen graphics, especially because if this is going on PS5 again, I don't know the exact sort of techie details of this, but you can only imagine it would look absolutely crazy. Plus, he'd make a great foe for Spidey, and I think when it comes down to villains and all that kind of stuff, you know, it really is important. Kind of like going for the first game, of course. Another thing that would have made that better when it comes down to villains is maybe multiple endings where you can face, you know, different types of villains, etc. Being the main boss, I mean, you guys kind of get where I'm trying to go with that. Again, it just all falls down into replayability, because the first Spider-Man game was great, but let's be honest, 95% of us maybe don't really play it now, but I could easily jump back into the game just for a mess around, but there wouldn't really be a whole lot to do after that. Now, the second to last thing, which almost ties into the last thing, I guess, but I'll talk about that in a second, is a multiverse. Now, think about facing multiple versions of the Green Goblin in one fight, or facing Doc Ock and his daughter from an alternative dimension, or how about playing a colourful level as Spider-Gwen and then going over to the black and white world of Spider-Man Noir. This opens up an incredible amount of new experiences, and I mean, the whole idea of a multiverse in general, and you know, we kind of had this little myth going on with this new Avengers game, that a Marvel world is actually going to be a thing as well, which unfortunately was confirmed that it's not actually the situation. However, that's not to say that there aren't other game studios that are going to make more Marvel games that could essentially link it with that. And again, I think that stuff always will be very successful. Again, replayability, that's all I'm talking about. Just more things to do in a game, because you don't want such a great game to die very young, I guess you could say, because come on, I mean, Spider-Man PS4, it's finished, right? But if it was replayable in the sense of multiplayer, all the other things I've mentioned so far, I guarantee most of us would still be playing it today. Now, the last thing that I did say, and again, kind of deeper into that whole, you know, exploring New York, it's just more New York City in general. So, even though the MCU films have only featured like about a minute or two of Spidey swinging through the city as a whole, it's almost in every comic, cartoon, interaction, I guess, with the character, or iteration should I say, and you know, this time I want to see them expand on it. Now, when I say expand on it, I mean give us more boroughs, essentially. So you got places like Brooklyn, the Bronx, and Queens, all have great landmarks to explore. So essentially, if you look at Spider-Man PS4, the map itself, is safe to say, was relatively big and was very detailed to that extent when you come across these random events and so forth. But I still think a larger map is one way to add to the replay value of this series. But I want you guys to get in the comment section below and let me know your thoughts on that. Again, if this is said to be coming out in 2021, realistically going into 2020 now, I mean, it also depends on 2021 when. Is it going to be the same type of release date that we're going for Spider-Man PS4, where it's basically towards the end of the year? We have no idea. But I guess realistically speaking, if there is a situation like that, we could expect to see it announced at E3 2020, but I'm basically going to say this year at this stage. So we have a lot of stuff going on. There's a lot of gaming events, again, just recycling stuff. So that means that there are so many, you know, I guess big shots again to come out for Insomniac Games and say, hey, we're making a Spider-Man sequel, and hey, it's going to be on a PlayStation 5, because also, to be realistic about things, by now this year we're going to see the PlayStation 5. We've already seen the new Xbox, the PlayStation 5 is what we're waiting for, so hey, it is very realistic. And then I guess, I don't know, right, this is something I want to just get your opinion on. I always say that, you know, when a game has made its sort of standpoint, and especially like a game studio, do they really need big gaming events anymore? Because in my opinion, I don't really feel they make a difference now. I've always said that if the game's big already and it already has a lot of hype behind it, all they need to do is release something on social media and the hype would just spread around rather than actually going to a big gaming event. That's just a personal opinion. However, with Insomniac Games, I kind of feel like they would actually still go to E3, which hopefully we would see E3 2020, where we go into that same cycle with Spider-Man PS4. They have the base of the game, right? So they can show something. It's not like they're building the game from scratch like they did last time, where of course we saw a massive delay essentially. So a lot of very, very big things going on in my opinion for 2024 this game, but these are things that I feel desperately need to be added in this sequel. But as always, you guys get in the comment section below, leave your thoughts and all of your opinions on there. If you missed any of the previous videos, go ahead and check them out. Of course, we're talking a lot about the Avengers stuff at the moment. If you haven't seen any of the recent videos to kind of sum that stuff up, I'm really expecting January we're going to see a whole lot of stuff going on. And if not, then we probably should start worrying because time is running out for that game. But anyway, you guys have yourselves a ridiculously amazing day. Subscribe for more awesome content if you haven't already, and I'll see you in the next one. Till then, adios amigos.